Test. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if Facebook Live is free for me. All right, hold on, y'all, because y'all know we had problems with. Let's see if Facebook Live is. Y'all know we had problems with Facebook yesterday, and people were doing Facebook Lives and they were not working. Actually, today, all day today. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj, the Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm he. It is the weekend. No, evening edition. Yeah, baby. How y'all is? Come on in. The fireworks is fine for humans, not dogs. Your pets are probably hiding in the dungeon today. At the time of this recording, it is midnight on the East Coast, and it is the 4th of July there. Right now, it's the 3rd, all right? And people are out there celebrating the independence of white folks. Did that come out of my mouth? I got to use my head voice, my inner voice more than I do my out voice. Anyway, black folks, y'all out there just popping stuff, well, all right, then join in with your brothers and sisters if you like. I choose to work on the 4th of July. I've got something here I want to talk about here. Michael Benjamin, Dottie, who else is here? Ramsey, Veronica, Doc Jones, my brother. How you doing, sir? Marie Jackson, Dottie, Victoria, whole bunch of y'all coming in here. It's late. I know y'all should be in the bed, but you don't have to work tomorrow. I want to talk about this economy that is upsetting so many of you. We're going to call this the tithing economy, okay? This is rough. This is tough. This right here upsets people, and it divides the church when people come together on something that they were born and raised under a system, okay? They come up under this, and then you got those who are opening up their understanding of the scriptures. The light is being turned on. There's an illumination and a revelation of what the scriptures really said about this subject. And so both of these people are clashing with each other, and it's turning into people who are upset, and they're arguing, and they're cussing each other out, and friends have been lost and severed, and marriages have actually separated because of this one teaching right here. And I want to go on another angle if I can. All right. I'm going to go another angle, and I got to go this other angle. This show here is for my YouTube audience, all right? I've been neglecting you for a few days, so I want to be sure and talk to you right now, because my Facebook people, they've been fighting all day on this stuff, you know, then they come back and forth and fight. But your YouTube folks, I don't want you to miss out on the fighting. All right, but what I want to do is, before I go to the spiritual, I want to go to the natural, which is the spiritual. But see, when it comes to money, is it really spiritual, the whole tithing thing? Well, we've turned this into a natural. We've turned the natural into a spiritual. It's a tongue tie, but we're going to get there at a moment. But what I wanted to do today is catch you up on all of the teachings I've done on finance. Yes, Mondays. Those of you who have my book, if you had the book shipped to you from my house, The 4 Women That Men Desire, in there is a bookmark. And the bookmark gives you the lineup for the shows that I do every week. Okay, I'm getting close to you. Hold on. I got to look close. All right, this right here comes with the book. It's the Sirwalterj Jones Show bookmark, and it tells you what the shows that I do every day. All right, Monday is the financial generational wealth classes that I do on the whiteboard. I'm returning back to that because we're in the middle of the year right now, and this is a time to bear down and pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Take a look at your finances and make sure that you are going to be fine when it comes to the second part of the year. All right, moving into the other quarters of the year, and some of you are vicariously you have holes in your buckets, in your pockets, as they usually say in these tithing teachings on Sundays. Okay, good evening to you, Victoria. Great to see you. Watching you and eating jerk chicken. All right, Deloney, blessings to you. Okay, so I'm gonna do an expose of the shows I've done on Mondays, Generational Wealth, to catch you up on some of the shows that you might have missed. I can't go into detail on all of them, so this might go a little long, but I just want you to hear some of the things that I did talk about, and then you can go on YouTube on the channel and see some of the financial generational wealth shows that I've done. One is called 7 Reasons Why Most Christians Are Financially Broke. 7 reasons why most Christians are broke. Number 1, ignorance, and my people are destroyed from the lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6. Number 2, no vision. Lack of vision, where there's no vision, the people will perish, Proverbs 29:18. Number 3, negative association to money and wealth and prosperity. You have a negative association to it. When you see money, when we were raised up under rich, we always were told that the rich will not make it into heaven. We've taken the scripture and went crazy over that. Misinterpretations. They would also bring up it's harder for a rich man to get to heaven. It's easier for for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And then there were different interpretations on what is the eye of a needle. Is it really a real needle, or is the needle a gate in Jerusalem? All these things you've heard down through the years. Curse not the rich in your bedroom, Ecclesiastes 10:20. Also, number 4, undiscovered, undeveloped, and undeployed potential. That's another reason why you're broke. Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men. Proverbs 22:9. The 5th reason why you broke is a lack of strategy and a plan. In their hearts, human plans their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. That's Proverbs 16:9. And the 7th reason why you are broke, unwillingness to invest in wisdom and knowledge. Get wisdom, get understanding, and through it all, though it costs all you have, there it is, get understanding. Proverbs 4:5, as you can tell, that was in another translation. Y'all are used to the King James, so you would have understood that better. All right. And then I talked about a show where I told you the difference. There are 3. And this is what the Lord gave me. You won't find this in scripture per se. All right. But I talked about the difference between compensation. Y'all, some of you remember this show. Compensation. Then I said compulsion. All right. And compassion, okay? I don't know, y'all remember that show, okay? And I told you the difference between all 3 of them. Compensation is, number 1, this is how you should operate in your money. Compensation is pay yourself first, okay? Compensation, whenever you get that check, always pay yourself first. People say, no, take the 10% off and give it to the Lord, all right? Even in the tithing system, there were 4 types of tithing. They paid themselves first. Understand? I know y'all talk about first fruits and things like that, but you guys are misinterpreting the whole concept of what happened in the Old Testament as God was dealing with the Jewish people. Compensate, and I have scriptures to prove all of this, so I'm not going by leaps and bounds of my brain. All right, y'all understand? Okay, compensation. Compulsion is forcing someone to do something or forcing someone to pay a money. That's why notice when you mention the word tithing, it's not give, it's usually pay. Notice when you say pay instead of give, it changes the narrative of the time of giving or the time of offering. When you say pay, then you go up under a compulsion. It is not free will. No one pays a free will anything. They give. It's a gift. All right. It comes from the heart. So when you pay something, you under compulsion. All right. That's forcing. The government forces you to pay your taxes. If you don't, they'll take away your earnings, they'll take away your assets, they'll take away stuff, and they'll jail you, they'll take away your freedom. You understand? And the compassion is free will. That's free will. All right? And those 3 I talked about in one of my shows. All right? The difference between the monies that we deal with when we giving monies in our churches and synagogues and all over the place. Okay? Also, I want to talk about what we talked about. Do I want to do the tithing thing yet? I kind of want to talk about the system of money, the difference between currency and money, okay? Because there is a difference. Let me erase this. Y'all know the title. there is a difference between currency and money. Money, okay, money, and then let's do this. What is money? Money is gold and silver and precious commodities, okay? And then currency, all right? What is currency? Of course, that's the almighty dollar. And, well, I would say coins as well, but what kind of coins? Not gold coins, all right? Not gold coins. That would be, this here. This right here is considered currency, dollars and coins, nickels and dimes and what have you. And this right here is really useless. Okay. Now these are gold pieces here. So this gold is considered money. All right. These quarters here, of course, is considered currency. You're like, well, what's the difference between the two? It's very important that you understand the difference between the two. Okay. Because currency, let's talk about what currency is, and maybe we can make some sense of it. Currency is portable. Let's see here. Do I want to write this up? Currency is portable. You can take it with you. Okay, that's number one. Number two, currency is durable. Okay, it's durable, like elastic. Okay. Number three, it's divisible. It's divisible, which means it becomes you can make change. All right, that's what currency is. What I just showed you, you can actually make change. And number four, it's fungible. Okay, which means it's interchangeable. $1 in my pocket buys the same amount as in your pocket. So it's fungible, divisible, durable, and portable. That's what currency is today. All right, and we got to figure out the value of it. We'll figure out later on. Let's see, what else did I talk about? But money is of all of this, plus it's a stored value over a long period of time. Understand? Money is a stored value, more so than this, because have you ever seen a dollar? What they do is they take dollars. After a while, a dollar gets so old, they begin to burn this. Okay, they burn it. It gets old and tattered and torn and what have you. And after a while, they burn millions, probably trillions of dollars every week. Okay, so that's what currency is. But the difference, what is money? Is it's gold and silver. It's limited in supply. All right. And here's the big reason behind it. The government can't print it. This right here is extremely valuable in today's lesson. The government cannot print money. All right. Boy, that thing is so bright. I can't hardly see the board. I'm looking at the monitor and it is bright. Lord have mercy. Okay. The government cannot print money. All right. So how do we get the money? A supernova, okay? Some kind of supernova exploded or something like that from space, and it created this gold, and this gold lasts how long? The gold lasts forever. Okay. The government don't like it because there is a it is a restraint. It has no control over it. All right. And I'll talk about further on why is it that when why do gold rise and fall? Okay. Why do it rise and why do it fall? All right. And who's responsible for it? Because money was created by, guess who? By God himself. Yes, he did. That was the system of exchange back in antiquity was money or gold and silver and these precious commodities that we see. Matter of fact, I think I may have some of the names of them. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can go there because that's important. I've got a lot of my old notes here that I want to explain to you. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. So what are some of the precious commodities that God himself created, that government have no choice over the matter? They can't control it. Here's one here. One would be rhodium. Okay. I can't spell it. Rhodium. Okay. The second one would be platinum. The next one would be, I think palladium is another one. And of course, gold is another one. And of course, silver. Okay. These are precious metals. Okay. These are the precious metals that are in the earth. And this is what God created for money. All right. This is not currency, but it is money. All right. Now, then what man has done was he hid it. He made it. He tried to put a value on it, and God has already the same value that platinum and palladium and gold and silver had 1,000 years ago has the same value today. When you look on the stock market, it seems like it's going up and it goes way down. Well, that's what man is manipulating. That man is manipulating that. Why? Because man wants to keep the current system that it has today, which is fiat money. Oh boy. Okay, this is important. If you ignore metals and gold and silver and platinum and all things like that, when you ignore it because you see that it's dropped and it has no value, that's how nations and governments fall. That's how they fall. And they never recover because of the perceived value of what God himself has made. All right. Let's see. There's so much that I talked about, especially I did one on African Americans and their wealth. I think it was Dr. Boyce Watkins had a list, 11 rules for black people who want to build personal wealth, 11 rules for black people who want to build wealth. And I'm not going to write all 11 on the board, but let me tell you what they are. Number one, never get all of your income from one source. That one's important. Never get all your stuff from one source. Never do it, people. I beg you, if you don't hear nothing tonight, do not ever get all of your wealth from one source. All right, because that sucker can grab you and you can be destroyed by it. Yeah. Justice said, you said God made money? Yes, he did. God made the money. Money answers all things. When you get your stuff from one source, you're going to find yourself having a problem because there's nothing you can fall back on. So that's why it's important to diversify. Okay, diversify. All right, what is that? It's building a portfolio. All right, those of you who are in the stock market understand what that is. Diversify. That means buy all the stuff I just had up here, all those precious gold and silver and metals. All right, and African Americans became wealthy on purchasing or land ownership. Land ownership is the reason why my grandfather and my grandfather and my father became upper middle class, all right, because they understood how to diversify. Yeah, they worked on a job, but they also invested. All right, it's important. So the keys to creating wealth are three things. The keys to creating wealth is owning a business is number one. Okay. Owning a business. Some of you got a brand out there and you're promoting your brand, whether some of y'all are in MLMs and direct marketing and whatever you do, all right, it's still your business, it's a brand, and some of you are very successful at it. You should continue to do that. Number two is home ownership, is how your parents got their wealth. And number two is the owning of land, okay? And this is something that was yours and you willed to your children. And what they did was all this equaled wealth transfer. Wealth transfer. And what is wealth transfer? That means the generation above transfers this wealth down to the next generation. So in this situation, I would say the silent generation. Number one, the silent generation passed its wealth down. That's those who were a part of World War II, passed their wealth down to what was called the baby boomers. Okay, and those of you who are around my age, the generation who watch me are usually baby boomers or the next generation under. So my grandfather passed his wealth down to my dad, baby boomers, and then my dad passed his wealth down to me, which I'm a Generation X. And I know some of y'all say, well, you shouldn't be labeling people. Well, it doesn't matter. Society gonna label you anyway. So just get with me, all right? My father passed his wealth and knowledge and understanding of how to build wealth down to me. What did I do? I passed mine down to the millennials. Okay, who are the millennials? Is that what I don't know? Millennials, right? That's my children, my sons and my daughters. So when we sit down and talk, we talk about business, homes, and lands. We don't talk about cars. We don't talk about credit cards. We don't talk about vacations. No. We talk about business, home, and land. In that order, because my daughter wanted to buy a car. She said, Dad, I want this car, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't want to spend time talking about a car. Let's talk about this business. Well, Dad, but business comes later on. I says, if you get the business, you can get as many cars as you want. You can get a fleet of cars. You can hire people to work for you, and then you can buy a fleet of cars. So you're trying to put the carriage before the horse, however you say that. Okay, I said, no, let's talk about business and focus on that. And then you can talk about this other stuff that you can buy once you get the business. And that's what was taught to me by my baby boomer father. So I teach that to my children, and my children are going to pass that down to that generation. What do you call that generation? Those babies that are babies right now. Yeah. What are they called? Okay. What if you're not good with marketing and getting into these businesses? Justin, good question. If you're not good with marketing, get with somebody. Rich people don't hang around poor people. Doctors hang around doctors, lawyers hang around lawyers, politicians hang around politicians, wealthy people hang around wealthy people. There is a free school all over the place. Google is a free school. YouTube is a free school. Okay, there are a lot of people who are willing and ready to give you information. I'm giving it to you right now, free of charge. So there's no excuse for us to say that I don't know. Well, you don't want to know because the information is out there. You can YouTube right now. So much free stuff. It's ridiculous how much free stuff we got. And you can learn just as much as some of the people who went to college on 2 and 3 and 4 years. Okay, YouTube won't give you a degree, but you're going to learn a whole lot, if that makes any sense. Like when folks try to get you to get into insurance business and stuff like that. Yes. So I'm not against insurance. I have good insurance. If I die, some people would say you're worth more dead than you are alive. I'm worth a lot of money dead. Yes, my children will be well off. Okay, if I do die. Why? What did I learn that from? I learned that from my baby boomer father. You understand? So you build the business, and then you get as more money as you make, you enhance or increase your insurance, your life insurance, your policies, and then you got investments up under that and what have you. That's the wealth transfer. Okay? Did anybody give me the next generation? Anybody give me, what's that generation that's babies right now? I can never figure that out. Okay, that's what's going on with you who are African Americans. And investments are annuities and equities and foreign currency exchanges. Okay, the S&P and it's a lot, and I don't want to get too deep into that because then I can get too far off. Okay, everything we do affect us financially. All right. That's even where you put your money in the bank. Bank fees. We get eat up by bank fees. Your credit report. You get eat up because you don't pay collection notices and what have you. You get eat up by that. You go to currency exchanges and you go there instead of going to your bank, and they'll charge you $1, $5, $10 for money, what they call them things. Okay. All kind of stuff. All right. I was looking at my monitor there and it froze, so I want to make sure y'all didn't freeze with me. Okay, so that is what currency and money is. That's the difference between the two. Not millennials. Thank you, Amber. Generation Z. The Generation Z. Okay. All right. And so what's happening is today in America is called a Ponzi scheme. Okay. It's a Ponzi scheme. And what is a Ponzi scheme? Y'all kind of know what that is. That's pretty much trying to make people believe that they can put some money into this account and get a fast return on their money. That's what a Ponzi scheme. That's a fast ROI. Okay. A return on your investment fast. All right. And so they get people to pour money into this plan, which is a scheme. And then they do pay these people, because if they got 4 people, then they take the money from each 4 and they shuffle it around. But then they got to add more people, so they got to go out there and get more investors to pay the 4, and then they got to go out there to get more investors to pay the new investors, and it goes on and on until 2 things happen. Number one, they cannot find. Number one, there are no more people to find to invest in this scheme. That's what make it crash. Number 2, the players, or I'd say the investors, okay, the investors want all of their money. That's how Ponzi schemes crash or burn and people get discovered, like Bernie Madoff. All right. Either they have no more people that they can find, or the investors say, we want ours right now. And when that happens, it's all over for you. Okay. So why did I bring that up? For a reason. Because what we're living in today is a Ponzi scheme. World War II, I believe, happened, and all of the nations were on what was called the gold standard. Okay, the gold standard, and all nations thrived by that standard. What does generation stand for? I tell you the truth, I don't even know, Justin. That's a good question. I don't even know. I think Z just means that's it. The world coming to an end. Ain't no more in the alphabet. Okay, the gold standard. And then 1944, I believe it is, they came together in what's called, I think it's called the Bretton Woods. It's like a convention of sorts. It was a Bretton Woods agreement, I think it was called. Okay. I studied this years ago, and I have to remember this by heart. All right. And what they decided to do was come together on one currency. Okay, they wanted to come together on one currency. And let me make sure, because my thing back here, my monitor is freezing. I want to make sure that we're good. Okay, all right. My monitor over here is freezing, and I want to make sure that it's not you guys who are freezing as well. And they decided to come together with one currency. And what they decided to do was to use the American dollar, okay, as the one currency that all nations can barter with. Why? Because the American dollar was good as gold. Yes, it was good as gold, okay? And what did they do? The American dollar was backed by gold, okay? That's why we became a superpower, a super nation. The backing and how we handled the war. All right, World War I, but World War II really did it. Don't say the world's coming to an end. Okay, so the American dollar was backed by gold, and all the nations decided to use the dollar for that. Now, what happened was all of the gold, if not most of the world gold, was in America. Okay, all the gold was in America, stored in America. And what the other nations around the world did in this agreement, they decided to attach their monies to the gold that's in America, or attach their economy by the American dollar, because the American dollar was worth just as much as gold. All right. And so as we went on into the decades after 1944, the 1960s came on the scene, and what happened? A lot of deficit spending happened. That's what happened. Deficit spending. Through what? Through the Vietnam War and the Korean War and space travel. We want to put the man on the moon in 1969. And LBJ and a lot of his spending, okay? And the nations around the world noticed that we were spending a whole lot of money and the dollars were going out. That means the gold was going out as well. And France woke up. Yes, France. I like their kissing, by the way. France woke up and says, we can't do this no more because you are devaluing the dollar becoming weaker and weaker. So what they did was they decided to France decided to pull its gold back from the United States. It says, we got to pull it in. And then the other nations followed suit. They began to pull the gold. And then in 1971, old man Richard Nixon decided to remove the gold from backing the dollar. And that was the removal of the gold standard from the dollar. You understand? All right. What did that cause? Removing the gold from the dollar. That means now the other nations were depending on one thing to keep the dollar strong. And what was that? I can sum it up with one word. Y'all got all that right? Good. I can sum it up with one word, and this is the problem we're having today. The one word is promise. Okay? Y'all ever heard of a promissory note? Okay? Now y'all tell me if if my thing is going funny, y'all tell me if y'all are okay over there, okay, with your monitors, all right? Because mine is freezing. I want to make sure that y'all not freezing. If y'all freezing, let me know, okay? Promise. That's right. This is a promise. If you ever bought a house, you know what a promissory note is, okay? So this was a backing. What was backing it? Nothing, just air. And the government declared that this was worth something based off of its promise, or what we may call faith. The faith and promise of the government. Most of you do not trust the government. If I ask you, do you trust the government? Most of you will say, I do not trust the government. But if I say, can I give you this $5 bill? You'll say yes. Yes, you will. If I say, can I give you this $20 bill? All of you will say yes. But you don't trust the government. Yes, you do. It's right here. You trust it. And the government lied on this dollar bill and they printed it on the back. How did they lie? And what did they print on the back that made them a bald-faced lie? Anybody want to know? Anybody can tell me. No problems here? Monitor working okay? Thank you, Jacqueline. Great. All right. What did they print on the back? In God we trust. That is a bold-faced lie from the United States government. No. The trust is in the promise of the government, not in God. Why? Because once they removed the gold standard, they removed God from the power and or the faith of God in the dollar. Do you understand? Remember I said earlier that God created the money and the plutonium and the palladium, all right, and the silver and all these things. The precious metals were here before we got here. It was here, the natural resources. It was already here. Okay, he made man in the 6th day. All that other stuff was already here. All right, so God made the gold, and then, all right, so America decided to put some paper money together, and it was backed by God right there. All right, and then they removed God from the dollar, and then put on the back, "In God we trust." All right, but it's really a promise. All right, and so what is this system? This system is called fiat. Fiat. All right, and what is fiat? Fiat simply means backed by nothing. It's backed by a promise. A promise of who? Promise of the government. Do you trust the government? No, I don't. Which means the world is shaking in their boots, especially with this new administration we have. The dollar continues to be devalued. All right. And so what does the other governments do to try to fix this is that the other governments then devalue their own dollar and their own economy. You're like, what? That makes no sense. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. The promise and the faith of this dollar has the same effect as tithing today. Okay? That's the whole purpose of this show, is tithing by whose faith? Your faith. On whose promise? Whose promise? Your leaders say the promise of God. But that has been removed. Okay. The other nations devalue their currency so that we could trade with them. All of the nations around the world, there is import, okay, and then export. All right. Well, if you go to Walmart and Walgreens and Sam's Club and all these other places, most of the stuff you see there comes from the East, China. Okay, we got stuff coming from China. We got stuff coming from all of the China nations. Okay, and of course the European nations. We got stuff coming from Cantonese and Japanese and everywhere, all over the world. Even Afghanistan, and I've seen stuff come just from everywhere. Korea, all right, but these are imports. Okay, what's happening is we're taking the American dollar, which is a soft, not very valuable, but we import, we buy stuff from these other nations. Okay, from these other nations. So more is coming in to our nation than is going out. You understand? Then it's exporting. All right. More is going in than going out. So because more is coming in, then the other nations must make sure that their economy is down low enough to meet the value of the dollar so that it won't be expensive to purchase from them. You understand what's happening here? It's a psychological move. So that we can continue to buy from them because we are a superpower. Well, not as much as we used to be, but go with me. We are a superpower, and you want to be able to trade with the United States. So you devalue your worth or your brand so that the United States would want to do business with you. All right. That's what's happening here, so that there won't be a collapse of their economy. Every year, some nation collapse because they don't understand how this works. All right. But as far as export is concerned, we don't sell too many products to many of the nations, or we just don't. Why? Oh, it's psychological too. It's psychological too. All right. So the fiat money, all right, is money that is backed by pretty much nothing. Okay. So which one do I want to go to? Okay. I talked about the Bretton Woods. Churches every year is worth $1.2 trillion. Okay. That's how much churches put into the economy every year. Churches. $1.2 trillion. And y'all are part of that. Okay. That's bigger than Apple. That's bigger than Google. That's bigger than who else? That's bigger than Amazon, actually. What? Combined. Yes. That's how much churches give to our economy. That's huge, y'all. And those of you who are tithe and offering payers, this is it here. This is it right here. Okay, there are 344,000 congregations, okay, across the nation. 40% of the nation's charities come from these religious organizations, okay? 40% of charities around the country are from religious organizations. Out of 344,000 congregations, $1 trillion industry. Yes. All right. And I tell you, if we were in a national economy, we would be probably maybe the 10th national. I don't know. We would be huge. We would be a huge economy, okay, around the world. All right. So because of this, we got to get into the whole tithing economy because this is important. All right. I can actually probably close this down, okay. I talked about the devalue. Earlier I mentioned gold and how the prices rise and then they fall. Okay. But gold is still the number one, gold and silver. All right. These two are very important, but they play it down. If you look at the stock market, they play it down. It's usually either level. If it rises a little bit, or it falls. Okay, but it is very valuable, and they've got to make sure that they level off the price of gold or drop it. Why? Because if they don't, then it would mess up the system of fiat. And what is the system of fiat? It is a Ponzi scheme. It is a Ponzi scheme. This dollar bill is a Ponzi scheme. Why is it a Ponzi scheme? Because our nation, I just talked about exporting and importing. We got to continue to find other nations to be a part of this Ponzi scheme. We got to continue to pay Peter, to rob from Peter, to pay Paul for this Ponzi scheme to work. And how do we do it? We do it through two businesses in America. One is the treasurer, and the other one is the Federal Reserve. Okay. That's how we get it all done. Federal Reserve and the Treasurer are responsible for a lot of this, and of course, these are the central banks. So Wall Street, the government, through the Treasurer and the Federal Reserve, keeps the fiat going strong. It keeps that Ponzi scheme alive. All right, and they do that through bonds. Okay, through these bonds. And who buy the bonds? All of the nations around the world. That's what they do. They take the value of the dollar and they export, okay, their values into the government, and the government purchase them, and then those governments around the world, they buy bonds, all right, and then these bonds are going back and forth between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, and it pays for our services that we have in roads and railroads and warfare. All kind of stuff that's happening in America. And so we have never hit a surplus since we took the gold off the dollar in 1971. We've never had a surplus. We used to be able to do that, but since 1971, never. Why? Because the dollar is going down, down, and down. Now, why is that? Well, let's back it up. I know it's a lot here, and I was trying to do it within a certain time. Back in the 1940s, 40s through the 50s, there was the father worked. He went outside and he went and worked, and the mother stayed at home. That's why you had these shows like Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver. Even up into the Brady Bunch and maybe the Partridge. Well, the Partridge Family was kind of different. All right. The father went out there and worked, and the mother stayed home, and they was able to save. They saved monies, okay? And then in walked the 1970s when the oil embargo and the prices went up and up. And what happened? Well, the father and the mom started to work, okay? And they bought the same things that they can buy in the 1940s and 50s. They bought the same thing, but now it took both of them to go out there to work to purchase the same thing. And then in walked the 1990s, and then what happened? These family savings got wiped out. They weren't able to save. All right, I should be reading y'all stuff. That bigger that Bill Gates did. Today gold is listed at 1,419 an ounce. Yep. And I can guarantee you, Demetra, that is devalued, considerably devalued. Yes, considerably. And if there was a crash in the market today, which causes other markets around the world to be affected, watch what happens to that gold. There are so many nations that are buying up gold like crazy. Why? Because they know what's happening. They know that fiat ain't gonna last too long. All nations that operate on fiat have never survived. America is next. They're next. All right, so 1990s came and the savings got wiped out. Both parties, mother and father, is working, and now the kids got to work too in order to enjoy the products and services of the 1940s and 50s. Everybody in the family got to work just to purchase these things. But they had a savings. Okay, now in 1990s, there's no savings. And then when you get to the 2000s, what happened? Well, we know what happened. Not only was the savings knocked out, we had to borrow money, loans in the 2000s. We couldn't survive. So we went into credit card debt, school loan debt, all right? All kind of stuff. The houses are even higher. The mortgages, the rates are high, okay? The card notes are higher. All kind of stuff, interest rates, all kind of things happened in the 2000s. And so we're in debt because of our loans, and we have no savings. So the average middle class today, who you consider yourself a middle class, don't have enough money to sustain you over 3 weeks. That's it. That is it. Okay. The average upper class, middle class person who have a job, who maybe have some sort of savings, they can only survive for 3 weeks, maybe a month. If something of a catastrophe should happen, they can't survive. They have this sense that they are middle class, but the average middle class don't really know how broke that they are. They don't really know. They may be making $100,000 a year, living in a nice house and got a car, but they don't own any of that. They got notes on all of that. And if something should happen to their job, they are broke in 3 weeks. So if you consider yourself a middle class, all right, and you're making all that money, 6 figures, and as soon as you lose your job, you can lose everything, your house and your car and all kind of stuff. That means you're actually broke. Does that make sense to anybody out here? Currently, the U.S. holds the most gold, followed by Germany. Yep, the U.S. will have always held the most gold. All right, you are considered broke. All right, so you're like, well, Brother Jones, isn't this show called The Tithing Economy? Well, yeah, I got to teach you how to crawl before you walk. What is tithing? Tithing, to most people who do tithe, is an investment strategy. That's really what it is. It's an investment strategy. That's what tithing is for most of you who do it. Okay, so when we go through this thing that happened, and when was this? Obama was coming in. When was it? Was that 2004 when that crash happened? And people their houses went into foreclosure, and the banks were failing. Okay, all kind of stuff. Then what did the government do? The government issued what was called a stimulus package. A stimulus package, okay? Or what's called a bailout. All right? But where did that money come from? Remember I mentioned down here the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department, what have you? Okay. Well, where did that stimulus package come from in the bailout? It came from the government. And who crashed the government? The government. Government did it. They crashed themselves through this Ponzi scheme, and so they issued themselves a stimulus package. And they made you feel good because they went into your the tax returns and gave you more on your tax returns, or they sent the checks to some of y'all's homes and say, all right, stimulate. This is stimulus. What does the stimulus package do? It encourages you to go out there and spend it. They didn't send you the stimulus package so that you can save it and put it away. No, they gave it to you so that you can put it back into the economy. You got to spend it, spend it. That's what stimulus means, all right, to shake it up. And many people did not do that. And that's why the bounce back was not as quick as they thought it would be, because they know that Americans are greedy. When we go to the grocery store, we go there hungry. So we are compulsive people. And the government knows that. So they figure if we give them a stimulus, somebody's going to go out there and buy some Air Jordans. Oh, I think y'all getting it. Okay. And so the stimulus package didn't work that great. So as it pertains to tithing, people use tithing as a personal stimulus package. Yes. I'm talking about the tithing of today. It's a personal stimulus package or a bailout, or it's a loan. I'm trying to tell y'all. And what's going to happen is one day, just like the Ponzi scheme players, they woke up and understood what was happening, but they lost their shirts. As it pertains to tithing, people by the thousands are waking up. They're waking up. And what's going to happen? A crash is going to happen in the tithing economy. Oh, man. I'm trying to tell you, the system is getting ready to crash. Let's see. So, the government controls the gold. But the church controls the tithe. Do y'all understand that? Do y'all understand that? The church keeps the Ponzi scheme going with tithes because it's not backed by the word of God in this dispensation. Tithe once was gold for the Jews, but has been canceled out by the institution of the New Testimony. Yet the preachers, investors who make a living off of it, perpetrate the scheme, and some through ignorance and others through, come on. Come on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Amber Rogers got it. Anybody else get my point here? Now, many of the taxpayers ain't liking this show at all. They hate it, and they think that I'm just, I don't know what they think, but I really don't care. But I'm telling you, mark my words, the people are understanding the Ponzi scheme in it all. Because the people keep asking me, how the church are going to take care of this and the widows and the homeless and the orphans and pay our bills and a light bill, gas bill and all these things. Okay, well, here's the problem. The church today is the building. All right, that's the first problem. All right, and so you're taking the structure of a building today and you're making it like the Old Testament temple. All right, that's the problem. And what you've done was you reorganized, restored, that is, or reinstated Levites and priests in a temple setting, and you put it into today's church building, and then you reinstituted a tithing system. And how long the tithing system is not that old, y'all, this new tithing system, this new tithing system only goes back to the late 1800s. But people who pay it don't know this history. And then this cognitive dissonance happening to them, and then now we got a big problem. Okay, it goes all the way. Matter of fact, here's one of the shows I did. I called it "Why Am I Tithing But Yet Still Broke?" Okay, I talked about the people who were against tithing. These people who are well-known teachers of the gospel: John Wycliffe, John Smith, the Quakers, John Gill, Adam Clark, Charles Spurgeon, all the way back to 1880, preached a sermon about tithing. He says, but you are not under a system similar to that by which the Jews were obliged to pay tithes to the priests. And if there was any such rule laid down in the gospel, it would destroy the beauty of spontaneous giving and take away all the bloom from the fruit of your liberality. There's no law to tell me what I should give my father on my birthday. There is no, on his birthday, there is no rule laid down in any law book to decide what present a husband should give to his wife, nor what token of affection we should bestow upon others whom we love. No, the gift must be a free one, or it has lost its sweetness. Okay, even Martin Luther was against tithing. John Calvin was against tithing. The list is too long to see. So when did this new tithing system come on the scene? In the 1800s, and it went from being food to money. Why? Because it was building buildings. It was building cathedrals. All right. It was building temples. It was a great way, a system, and it's set up. I believe the Catholic Church started that, converting it from food to money. And in the scriptures, tithing was never money, all right, or currency or money. It was always food, always food. Every time you see it in any version, it says food or meat. So there might be meat in my storehouse. That's MEAT. What people did today, though, they turned meat into money, or to meet a need. But meet a need wouldn't be spelled MEAT, would it? Go into your King James Version. Go to Malachi chapter 3. Meat is not spelled MEET. No. But they look over that. It's amazing to me. It's so amazing to me. Okay. This system has messed up folks. So the question to me a lot is, well, how do we take care of the bills of the church? Well, like they did in the 1800s before y'all instituted it, and like many thousands of churches do it today without tithing, they do it through what's called offerings. Y'all heard of offerings, right? Sure, you've heard of that. Even in Malachi, it says, you rob me in tithe and offerings. Well, then what's offering then? What did the offering do? We know what the tithe did. The tithe fed the Levites and the priests. But what did the offering do? It took care of all of the expenses of the building, all the needs. All right. So churches today only operate through offerings. That's it. So when the question comes to me about what about giving to this person and giving this person, you didn't have to do that through the tithe. They do it through offerings. My pastor, Bishop Carlos Moody, God rest his soul, he put the Church of God in Christ into 100 nations around the world. How did he do it? He didn't do it through tithe. He didn't do it through tithes. No. You know how he did it? You know how he traveled from land to land to land? He did it through missions. What? Offering. Yeah. When at the beginning of the service, we do what's called a collection of the missions offering. That's it. And what does the mission offering go to? Home and foreign mission. It goes to people in need at home first, whether it's in our town or whether it's in the city, whether it's in Evanston or whether it's in Illinois. And then monies go out to the other nations around the world through offerings, not tithes. So when the question comes to me about if the church don't pay tithes, how are they going to take care of the needs of the people? Through the offerings. Don't y'all do benevolent offerings at the beginning? Right? You do, don't you? Right. Yeah. Yes, you do. Stop playing with me. So the tithe was supposed to go first to the inside of feeding the workers. That's everybody who was a Levite and a priest. All right. And then at a certain time of the year, every third year at the end of the tithing season, then it says out of Deuteronomy, I think 14, then you give that tithe, which was food, to widows and orphans and strangers. You understand? That you didn't do that every week. You did it at a certain time. Who's teaching this? I don't know who's teaching it. I don't understand. So there's 4 types of tithes. And if I want to be really bold to say, tithing is not 10%. Tithing is 23%. That's what tithing is. It's 23. So you people who are giving only 10% and thinking that you're pleasing this God above, well, you robbing God by telling people they're being cursed. You robbing him because tithing equals 23%. That's the tax. That's like the tax of the United States. Can't you see the economy of the world is the same as the tithing economy that you place the people on? There are people who can't afford to really pay taxes. They're working hard and Uncle Sam pull that money out of their check and it's hard on them. Well, the church did the same thing. They put a compulsion on the people and they pull that money out of them, and both is a bondage on the people. Yet Christ came to destroy this bondage, okay? Destroy the bondage. He made us free. And this is why in the New Testament, the apostles never, ever brought up tithing. Never once did you hear any of the apostles and their followers ever bring it up, ever. Why? It wasn't necessary. It was not needed. And that's why Paul wrote the book of Galatians. That's why he wrote Galatians. He wrote Galatians for y'all. You people who are cursing people. He wrote Galatians for you. Okay? He said, how dare you? You don't remember what we talked about at the council of whatever the council was? Okay? We talked about this. We don't let these Gentiles who've been converted over, we don't put this compulsion on them as you Jews, you follow the law. That's what you do. That is your covenant with God, and you do it. And Jesus didn't come to destroy the law. He came to fulfill it, and he fulfilled it in himself. That's why in Matthew, and those of you who are tithe payers always bring up the whole Matthew case that Jesus says. He says, you tithe. Notice what he used when he mentioned tithe. Jesus mentioned tithe. He used all food products. Notice that. I think he used spices and cumin. Okay. He used all food products. Number one. Matter of fact, let's do that. Number one. Okay. Number one, food products. Number two, it was an obvious rebuke. Why? He says, you're doing these things, and he says, as you should do them. Well, why? Because they were Jews up under the law. Jesus never told a Jew to break the law. Makes no sense. A Jew telling another Jew to break a law. How can you fulfill a law if you're telling people to break it? It made no sense. Do you remember the lepers who Jesus healed? All right. And then the one came back to thank him, and he said, where are the rest of them? But where did they go? When he healed the lepers, he did not proclaim them healed. He could not. Why? Because the law says that the priest had to proclaim them healed through the law. So when he healed them, he said, go and show yourself to who? Why did he do that? Because he knew that if they didn't show themselves to the priest, they would be breaking the law. So he told them, you're supposed to tithe. You're a Jew that you worship in the temple. All right. And you're supposed to. That's why he did that. But it was a rebuke because he says you should do those things, but you're forgetting a weightier matter. And this is the part where tithe payers forget the weightier part of Jesus' statement. Are y'all with me here? Okay. Well, my church doesn't tithe. We give from generous hearts and no plate is passed. And yes, we are Christ driven. Yes. That's it. Bright. I love it. The tithe keepers are fearful that cheerful givers alone would pay the bills and salaries. Yep. So they use scare tactics and shaming members in the name of paying God back. Also quoted every Sunday and not robbing him. They preach but have little. Beatrice Carter. And that was my next part here. They preach but have little. Yes, he did, and it wasn't because money wasn't available. Dimitri Pitts, that's another horrible teaching there. The part about there was no money available. Oh God, I already did that teaching. I don't even want to. It's hard for me to go into that. Okay, but let's go into that. Okay, currency. Here's the currency in the Bible. Somebody will say, well, there was no money in the Bible. That's why we have money now. It was food back then, but there was no money. But then the next Sunday they preach about the widow's mite. How you go? What is a widow's mite? It wasn't a banana. It wasn't an apple or orange. The widow's mite was money. Then it teach about the disciples finding a coin in the fish's mouth. You know, Jesus telling them to pay their taxes. What was the coin in the fish's mouth? That wasn't a banana either. And then he told them turn this coin over, and whose signature, a signa or face is on the coin. Okay, he says that's Caesar's. So render to Caesar what Caesar and pay your taxes. All right. For the people who say there's no money in the Bible and skip over all that, it makes no sense. The tribute was a penny. The coin in the 30 pieces of silver. Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus not with some oranges. Oh man, the Roman silver denarius. What about the talents? Y'all always talk about the talents. The 3 men that they gave the talents to. Those talents was the mina, the Becca, the Gerard, the Pim, and the Kesitar. What about the drachma? The lost coin in Luke 15:8. What about the Assyrian? Man, it's so many. It was so much money in the Bible. Oh man, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Y'all crack me up with y'all's dissonance. All right. Okay. So where am I before I get tossed and to and fro? I'm so sorry. Okay. So as it pertains to gold, here it is. If you can't hold it, guess what? You don't own it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. You're like, I got gold over here. I got gold over here. Is it in your hand? Is it in your house? No. You don't really own it. If you buy gold, they don't really send you the gold. They send you a piece of paper. It's a certificate saying that you own it. I don't trust it. I know right now we kind of have to have it because who stores gold all in their house? I get it. That's why we have bank accounts. We don't store money in our houses. Our grandmothers did, but we don't. But it's not trustworthy because there could be a run on the bank tomorrow. All right, if the bank's opened. Your money is in there, all right, but your money really is not in there. When you make a deposit, the bank borrows your money and they give you a promissory note. They leave it there. I did that teaching. Y'all got to go to that show that I talked about generational wealth. I don't remember what show it was. All right. When you make a $100 deposit in your bank, the bank took some of that money. How do you think you was able to buy your house? How do you think you was able to buy your car? And how do you think you were able to get a business loan? Where'd that money come from? That money came from other people who got money in that bank, and the bank borrowed it and put a IOU in your deposit. So we're going to take a percentage, but when you look in your phone on the Chase Bank, you see that $100 is still there. And no, it ain't. It's not there. All right. So if you can't hold it, you don't own it. You don't. Man, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Matter of fact, I think they call it a name. What is the name of that? I think it's called qualitative easing or something like that. What is that system called? You know, it's so I got so many notes. I think it's called the quantitative easing. It's in there somewhere. Okay. So there are 7 stages to empires. 7 stages to empires, and we're part of one of these stages. Okay. So if you can't hold it, you don't own it. So as it pertains to tithing, it has the same concept. All right. You're putting your monies into something based off of a promise that where the gold standard of tithing has been removed and God is in a new system. And now you're putting your monies in there. So what happens is people who think that they're making money or they've reaped a return on giving a tithe has the same psychological effect of someone who gambled in the lottery and they won a winnings, and now on the news they're talking about this winnings and what they're going to do with their money. Then people said, oh man, maybe I'm going to jump into the lottery next time, and then these people lose their shirts. So when people at church testify about how much money that came back from their tithing, that gives strength to the system of tithing for others. And then they jump in there, and over time they wonder why it's not working for me. It has worked for him. Well, it makes no sense. If God make a promise, shouldn't that promise hit everybody? Just like the gold standard on the dollar. Every dollar that you had when you went to the bank guaranteed that gold. Well, with tithing, you got 10 people tithing, but it seemed like only 3 people are reaping the benefit from the tithing. Well, what about the rest of these people? Well, what is that, God's economy? That's not God's economy. That's not God's gold economy. No, that is called, I'm calling it this, fiat tithing. That's what I'm calling it. All right. I might coin it one day. That's fiat tithing. All right. That tithing is backed by nothing because it doesn't affect everybody. It does positively. It doesn't affect everybody. What are the 7 stages of empires? Number 1, a country start out with good money, which is either gold and silver or is backed by gold and silver. All right. That's where we started. Oh, that's why we became a superpower, y'all. Gold. Backed by gold. We became a superpower because of it. So we became a great nation, and that's why the Brentwood agreements settled on the American dollar. Number 2, as it develops economically and socially, it begins to take on more and more economic burdens, adding layers upon layers of public works. So what happens? The 1960s deficits, spending deficits, okay? Deficits. All right, spending deficits. I might have spelled that wrong. I don't care. Number 3, as its economy affluence grows, so does its political influence, and it increases expenditures to fund a massive military. War. Defense. Yeah, defense. Defense. It's in there somewhere. It's defense. It's in there somewhere. Okay, defense. What would be number 4? Eventually, it puts its military to use, and expenditures explode. All right, overspending. Overspending on defense. All right, that's America. The Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan war through George Bush. All right. Korean and Vietnam War of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. That thing lasted for 30 years, yo. Okay. Number 5, to fund the war, it steals the wealth of its people by debasing their coinage with base metals, or by replacing their money with currency that can be created in unlimited quantities. Fiat. That's what's happening here. The debasement of money backed by what? Nothing but a promise. Number 6. All right. The loss in purchasing power of the expanded currency supply is sensed by the population and the financial markets, triggering a loss of faith in the currency. All right. I'm going to call this a run on the bank. A run on the bank. Okay. Number 7, a mass movement out of currency into precious metals and other tangible assets takes place. The currency collapse and gold and silver rise in price as they account for the huge quantity of currency that was created. And this process transfers massive wealth to those who had the foresight to position themselves beforehand in the real money, gold and silver. That's what's happening here. Number 7. The gold rush. There it is. Back to the gold rush of the California gold rush. Does not history repeats itself? Yes, it does. This is the 7 stages of empire. And what stage are we right now? Well, we're in the fiat stage right now, and we're closely running to this stage here. Is it going to happen soon? Yes. The run on the bank is coming real soon because these stages happen over, these nations go through a cycle of 30 and 40 years of rise and crash, rise and crash, rise and crash. We're due for another crash. All right. We're due for another crash. But then after so many crashes, they fall and burn. Okay. So here we are, run on the bank. And then what happens? The people who are smart have bought gold. Why all these other nations are buying gold? They're smart. They know what's coming. And those of you who are looking at the market and the price of gold and you're like, okay, all right, because that is a foreshadow. That is a falseness to devalue it. All right. I think I talked about that. All right. Let's see. Did I forget anything, y'all? As I close this down, okay, gold was the unit of exchange. They try to devalue or suppress the price to feed this Ponzi scheme of the dollar being the world currency. All right. So the gold go down in value, but gold never goes down in value. Understand that concept. You heard it here first. Gold never goes down in value. Somebody said it did, but it never does. All right. What are you saying here? People who testify of their returns on their tithing are really perpetuating the lottery. They are spokesmen for a system that is predicated in a fiat cycle, mistakenly thinking they're giving God the glory, but God doesn't need our help in his glory. Woo-wee. Amber Rogers, run, girl. But it's going to cost a lot more real soon. Yep. Johanna, that's exactly it. Brother Bass, last thing I say, number 8 will be the mark of the beast. Yep, that's right. Al Shaw, he talked about Bitcoin. We teased on the Bitcoin a few months ago. We need to go back to it. All right, we need to go back to it. Okay, so what's happening here? Those of you who are paying a tithe, hey y'all, how long have I been on this show? How long? Can y'all put the number there? How long have I been so that I can shut it down? I want to make sure I touched on everything because I want to encourage you who are tithe givers. Okay, I want to encourage you. I mean, y'all like, how do you encourage tithe givers? How do you even do that? How long has I been on here, y'all? It takes a while for you to respond. I don't want to hold up my YouTube people. They're usually patient, but every now and then you get one or two who'll say, "Hey, bruh, keep it moving." I keep it moving. Okay, not yet. All right, it'll come through in a minute. Let's see. Where are we? Let's just say, okay, 1 hour and 16 minutes. Okay, thank you. Wherever your riches are. Yes, that's where your treasure is. Wherever your heart is, that's where your treasure is. For those of you who pay a tithe, here's the thing about a tithe that I don't have a problem with. Okay, I think there's two types of tithings. One is personal, and the other one is systematic. Okay, the average tithing taught today is systematic. That's the average teaching. It's not personal. It's systematic. I'm into personal tithing. Why? Because I believe that if a person decides that they want to give their money to help a ministry, a percentage of their monies every week or every month or every year, a certain percentage, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20%, then they should be able to have the freedom to do that. That is their tithing to a organization or a body or what have you, and that's their choice. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely not. Many of us actually do that. All right. The system of tithing is dangerous because you're taking the people into a compulsion, into bondage, and they're fearful. They're fearful. If they don't do this, then God is going to curse them and take things away from them, and their lights are going to get shut off, and their cars going to explode, and people are going to break in the house, and they got holes in their bags. All these things. That's the old man way of teaching the tithing, and it is not the teaching of Jesus Christ, because when he died on the cross, he never mentioned it to the thieves. There were two thieves on the cross with him. He never brought that up. All right. And when he came out the grave, he never really brought that up. Okay. Because what we're doing is we're teaching a works-based religion to say that there are people who, when I was coming up, they said that you are not saved if you didn't tithe, and you're cursed, and then you go to hell if you don't tithe. All right. That's the system of tithing. It's so dangerous. And so many people who got masters and doctorate degrees and what have you, they still teach this system. And it's so amazing to me how you could actually have the full word of God in your face, go to school for 4 and 5 and 6 years and still believe in this system. When you got Bible theology and systematic theology that you've studied all these years, and you still teaching the system of tithing, that makes me wonder how much more of something else that you're holding on to as a tribal person. You are most people who teach tithing, I consider them tribal. They're tribal. They're like the people who many who. I'm not saying all people who voted for Donald Trump is tribal. I'm not going to say that. But there's so many who became tribal and he could do no wrong. They look past his wrong and his evil, the things that he say and do. They look past all of that because they've become tribal. They become robots in a sense. And those who are tithe payers under this system are robots. And they can't even, and I think what's happening is they're like the Jews of Romans 9 and 10, and God was talking about how they are blind, but he says they're blind only in part. They have cataracts on their eyes. They can kind of see, but I believe they're legally blind. All right. Somebody says Stevie Wonder can kind of see. All right. They're legally blind. They see part truth. All right. It becomes their truth. All right. And I think that's what's happening with those who are tithes. They can see a whole lot of stuff around them, but they can't see that one thing that's right there in their face. Even when they're doing things or hoping for what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting this change to happen, and it really doesn't. So they look at a check coming in the mail for $100, $500, $1,000. After they've given a tithe for 15, 20 years, they've paid thousands of dollars in a tithing system, but their ROI, the only what they got back was maybe 5%. They only got 10% of what they've given over so many years, and then they get excited and they celebrate, and then they tell people, see, it works, because some so-called financial miracle happened today after 20 years of tithing. You know what that is? It's the lottery. If you keep playing the lottery long enough, guess what's going to happen? You go down into Vegas and you keep putting money in that machine, guess what's going to happen? Can somebody tell me in the comments? Guess what's going to happen? Yes. So you keep doing this thing over and over and over again, and then it happens, then that builds your faith. That builds your faith. And it has the same system as those who were worshiping Baal. Okay? They were worshiping Baal. And the prophet made them look like fools. He said, scream louder. Maybe he can't hear you. Maybe your God is hard of hearing. Okay? And they were cutting themselves and what have you. Why were they cutting themselves to this God, lowercase g? Why were they so excited and calling out his name? Because somebody made them believe that this God had a voice and this God was blessing them in their territories and their lives. So somebody made these systematic tithers believe, because one person came forth in your body, in your church, and said, look what happened to me. And then everybody jumped on board. It is the system of the lottery. Return on investment in the wrong system. Yep. You're going to win eventually. You're going to win. If you keep gambling, you will win. So I like personal tithing. Why? Because there are people out there across the country who tithe to me. Yes. And when somebody came to me and says, here's my tithe. I said, whoa, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I felt like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy in the church saying I'm the pastor, apostle, what have you. And people start paying a tithe to me. Oh, no, I teach against this system. Don't do it. And the Lord rebuked me. This is my transparent moment. The Lord had to rebuke me. He says, no, don't stop this person from giving you a tithe. They're not giving you a systematic tithe. They're giving you a personal tithe, young man, and you take it. You take it because I have given them the freedom to do that. In their world, you are their pastor. You're feeding them the word of God. And because they call it a tithe, it scared you. I said, yes, it did, God. It scared me. It doesn't matter what they call it. He says, you take it because that is their investment into you. And this is how I'm blessing you. If a person decides they want to give you a portion of their income and call it a tithe, let them do that. I'm gonna bless them because what you're doing for the kingdom. That's a personal tithe. And those people who have given me their tithes, they don't do it every week. All right. They just do it. Sometimes they do it periodically. And they say, here's a tithe for you. Why? Because they understand that is not a system that they're paying under. They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. And they say, you know what? Okay, this month I'm going to give Brother Jones a portion of my monies as a tithe. And what do? I'm able to do these shows and pay for these lights and write these books, okay, and put gas in my car and give monies to the kids for college books and paying fees and all kind of stuff. I'm able to do this stuff. Why? Through the people who have blessed me from around the country who invested in the ministry. You understand? So I'm not against it. So when people hear me talk about tithe, they think I down all tithing. I don't. You think I do because you've been hearing the attack of tithe for a long time. But people are waking up. Y'all understand? Scratching tickets. Yep. Lowercase g. Ain't no ears. Give with a cheerful heart. Be happy you gave. No compulsory. So the Apostle Paul says, as I close this down, he says, every week, at the end of the week, at the first day of the month, however, you give a percentage of your income to support the ministry. And there are times when he was away, and he says, collect it before I get there so I can take it. And he took it on his missionary journey. Come on, are y'all doing that today? Well, we do it as a missions office, okay? He said, give it. They met every day in worship. Not just Saturday, not just Sunday. The early first century church met daily in their homes. They sure did. All right. And they collected the monies and they were able to support each other. They bought and sold and nobody had a need. They had the scripture said they had all things common. Yes. And once they built this church on the apostles and the prophets, now here we are today. We're reaping the benefit from the foundation that was built way back in the first century. So what did we do? We tried to reinstitute. We went back further than the first century. We went way back further to the Old Testament and dug up old bones and put the people under compulsion. Yes. And then we find clever words and smooth explanations to make the people feel like, see, here's what it is. Here's what God wants you to do. And they warm it over. And give us some smooth sayings. How do I know? Go on my wall, those of you who are on Facebook, and look at my tithing post today on how I broke all this down on my Facebook post. And look at the comments from tithe payers and notice how they put this system in perspective. Oh, it sounds good. It's just one big soup of compulsory mess. It's mess. It's messology. That's what it is. What you basically explain is how the correct distribution of the tithe helps. And yes. Aaron Williams, blessings to you. So that's the system, right? I believe we're right here at between 5 and 60, America, on our way down. You better get saved. Get to know the Lord. And those of you who are tithing under this system, I'm praying for you as well. You do what you do and stay in that system. If you feel that God's going to hurt you, stay in that system and do what you do. But stay away from my free thinkers out there. Stay away from my spirit walkers out there. Leave them alone. Leave them, walk away from this. Don't even go on the wall and comment on my tithe post. Just walk away from it. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Okay, and then the one I like to use is a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. All right, I can't change you. Your cognitive dissonance is valuable to you, and you stay with it. Do what you do, but leave us alone. Okay, let us worship God in our way, and we take our monies and do what we do to bless the people, and you do whatever you do to build up your buildings and pay your mortgages and what have you, and you do that stuff. But we don't want to be under bondage. We choose not to, and I haven't paid a systematic tithe, and I don't even remember how long. It's been probably 20 years since I paid a systematic tithe, and I never went to bed hungry. Okay, the food, I can get food wherever. I did, all my bills are paid. My lights are on, my gas is on, my water is on. I got a car outside. The car note is paid. All right, and we do have some rough times, ups and downs. Yes, many of you do, but it's not because I don't tithe. As a matter of fact, the people who borrow money from me are tithe payers. Everybody who's ever borrowed money from me, and when I ask them, "You pay your tithe?" They say yes. Then why are you borrowing money from me? I don't understand that. How are you able to pay a tithe every week, and God promised you that He will pour out a blessing that you have no room to receive, but yet you go into the bank to get bank loans? You didn't pay cash for that car? No. You didn't pay cash for that house? No. You went to college and you still had to get a loan for the yes. But I thought the preacher said that you would be poured out. I don't understand that. How are you living from check to check if you're still paying tithe for all these years? I can't understand. You can't see that something's wrong here. Now you're coming to me, a proclaimed non-systematic tithe payer, and you coming to me to borrow money? You don't think I'm going to bring this up? We fight on the wall. And now you're asking me for money. Aren't you a tithe payer? You're the one that was preaching a few weeks ago there's going to be holes in your bag. You was right up there in the pulpit proclaiming that the people are going to be cursed. And you asking me for money. I can't understand that. A guy who haven't tithed in 20 years. What is that? What is that? Can somebody tell me what that is? Any court of law will laugh at you. The court of public opinion will laugh you into dire straits. It's a laughing, you be the laughing stock of your country club if you can join one. All right? How could you teach this and you barely making it? If something happened to your car today, if it break down, you got to cross your fingers and pray and hope to God that the insurance company will take care of it, because if they don't, you can't afford to take care of your car. But you're a tithe payer. You see what I'm saying? You got to walk away from this mindset of, I almost said the word started with an S, but I'm not even going to say it because that's just not right. That ain't even right. Stop giving your money to Creflo. I ain't say it. He said it. Okay? So go ahead and give to the poor. Because God says if you give to them, you are lending to Him. Give to the poor and needy. And there are some fatherless children out there. There's some widows out there who don't have a family. They are widows indeed. Find them. Those people you pass on the street on your way to church to pay a tithe, stop and feed them. Church will be there when you get there. Why don't you take them to a sandwich shop and feed them and sit with them, dine with them, and preach the gospel to them? I do it. I taught my son to do it. He sees someone homeless, he'll stop and talk to him, give him whatever's in his pocket. Yes, I taught my children to do that. Why? Because I saw my daddy do it all my life. Now, that's why my daddy never had to starve. He never starved. He just always had. Okay? Because he knew how this thing worked. You understand? All right? So I'm teaching it to you because I have a responsibility. So this show is not for those who are under this system, not to you because you ain't going to get it. The thumbs down right now. You're not going to get it. Walk away. But for you who are open-minded and you really are hungry for the word, I hope this helped you. All right. I got to go. It's the 4th of July here now. It wasn't when I started the show, but it's 38 minutes into it. Fireworks been going off like crazy, not just today, but all for the past 4 weeks has been going off because we started early in Chicago, especially in the hood. And it's going to be noisy tomorrow. Y'all be safe, please. For those of you who are watching this live, be safe. And if you can, if you're going to celebrate, celebrate responsibly and get home early. Of course, y'all going to be out there watching it at nighttime. That's the best time to watch the works. I choose personally not to celebrate it. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. So I can work and write some books and, because that business over there that I talked about, the business part, if you're a business owner, you understand. But if you're not a business owner, you'll never understand. Entrepreneurs work around the clock. Holiday, what is that? No, we're always working in our mind. Even if we're over there on the beach of Miami, we're thinking about our business. That's the way it is. And because if you don't, well, the day is going to come where we're going to be down here at the gold rush and you didn't buy none. Got to go. All right. Johanna, let you have the last say. Don't be haughty or worry about what they will do with your money. Once out of your hands, it is no longer yours. Johanna Bright. I'm going to let you have the last word and quit. I love y'all. Hit the share button, will you please? They ain't going to like it. The 18 of y'all left. Hit the share button. You better go and hide though, because if they see the title, they're going to be like, oh, no. Now, they're going to call you to the pastor's office on Sunday and say, did you share Sirwalterj Jones' show about tithing? I did, didn't I? Yeah. We're going to have to excommunicate you. See y'all tomorrow. Maybe. Peace. Oh, Alexa, say good night to the people.
Good night. Talk to you tomorrow.
Here's my fireworks. Thank you, Lord, for saving me. Pow! Good night.